Hello YouTube, this is Fargonon from DeviantArt, and my voice sounds really stupid. But, today I'm going to do a shading tutorial, which I've been getting lots of questions on how I do my shading, so I just thought I'd do a semi-quick thing. It's probably not going to be that quick, it's probably going to take like forever. But I'll try not to make it too long, I'll split it into two parts if I have to. Anyway, I already colored this, obviously. So now I'm just going to get down to how I do this. So, first thing I do is I make a new layer above the coloring, and over here you see I've got my little layers. I got my main layer, my main, and my wings. So, I make a layer, boop, make sure it's in the clipping group. And I usually start out with a black, and I change it to a different color, like a dark blue or purple. But for right now, I'm just going to use black. And I lower the opacity to around 50. It doesn't really matter right now because you can always change it. But, so I grab I don't really have a specific size. I usually just grab a 40 or 80. Let's just do a 60 size brush, and I change the stabilizer to S6, so it's really smooth and sharp and all that fun stuff. So, shading is pretty easy once you get used to it. You just follow the muscle lines on your character, and you can't add too much, so you can just go crazy with detailing like this. And then you can like erase all the little mess ups. And I don't know where the lighting is coming from on this picture. It's just pretty standard shading. So I guess the lighting is coming from down this way. And basically, this is how I do my shading. It's kind of hard to explain how I do it because, well, it's just kind of hard. The big spaces you can just block off and just fill in with the bucket, and then sharpen them up with a smaller eraser, like so. And for my erasers, when I'm shading, I like to keep it like on the edge shape number 3, just because it makes it floofier looking for some reason. That doesn't really make sense. Oh well. But anyways. So this is how I shade the body. And then you can take a really small eraser and just notch in some details, because skin bunches up, and where it bunches up you want to kind of make it distinct. Like right there, because the muscles on the chest are bunching out, because he's like in this really crazy pose. This is Mars, by the way. He's a new character. I like him very much. And right here, there's a muscle bunching out. And right here. Oops. Missed a spot. And I can just erase that and leave that little bit there, because that just gives it a little distinction on that muscle line. And now we're moving along to the neck. Now the horse's neck is kind of down bunched this way, so we're going to add some wrinkly lines here, because the skin is being wrinkled, and if you find references, it really helps to look at references for, like, here, I'll get one out, for a horse's neck when it's wrinkling, like dressage horse here, because dressage horses have a lot of flexion in their neck, so you can find a lot of good, let's find one, here's one. It's kind of small picture, but right here the horse has some little wrinkles, so right here we're just going to add a few more right there, and there's this wing thing in the way, so we're going to the wing is casting a shadow on the neck. We're going to ignore the lines on the neck for right now. I mean the wing. And when something is casting a shadow on something else, the shadow is a little bit bigger than the actual thing, so I'm just making the tears on the feathers a little bit bigger than what they are. And then we're going to sharpen it, like so it's not all wrinkly and weird. And since there is a muscle right here, we're going to bend it in because the shadow is going over the muscle. So, like that. So it kind of looks like it's bending upwards a little bit. And then we're going to add some more shadow here. Like so. And here's another wrinkle in the skin. And then this muscle also has a shadow. And then we're going to need to connect this shadow with this shadow, or else it just looks weird. So we're going to bow that out with some more wrinkles. Connect those. The shoulder is casting a shadow on the neck a little bit because it's like in the way. And then we're going to get the eraser again. Yay. Add some definition here. So it just doesn't look like a splotch of shadow. I don't like it when it looks like that. That's just my style though. You don't have to do that. Wrinkles here. This looks kind of weird, so we're going to add some there. Okay, and there's the shading on the neck and the shoulder area. And there's a wrinkle also right here, so we're going to do that. And then shading legs is pretty easy since they're like straight. So we're just going to add some wrinkles because the skin is wrinkling up here. And then I'm going to block it off, fill it, and erase where there needs to be some more defining. And since his head is right here, there's going to be a shadow right here. Alrighty, there we go. And then I'm going to clean up this shadow a little bit so it looks, well, cleaner. Cleaning up this, Okay, light is hitting that part of the shoulder on the opposite side. Whoop. Okay, so there's part of that. And then there's these bands on his armor, leg armor. I'm going to do a little other part of this tutorial where I'm shading the armor, so you'll have, because I've been getting some questions on how I shade metal too, so I'll do that. And shading doesn't have to be perfect, just so everybody knows, because mine is not perfect at all. Whoop. Okay, so there we have some cell shading. And I'm going to pause the video and start the rest of this so this video doesn't take too long. And then I will tune you back in. Whoop. Okay. As you can see, I did the rest of the body shading. I added the little details on the ribs here. And the flank. Whoops, forgot the wrinkle. And the hoofs and the shadow where the metal was going onto his leg and on his head. And it's part of the wings right here. Okay, so anyways, now I'm going to move on to the mane. And what I do for the mane is I go down here to the mane layer and I hold control on my keyboard and I click the mane layer, and that selects all the mane stuff. Then I make a new layer for shading, and make it about the same opacity. It doesn't really matter, density, whatever. And then I start at the tail, at the base, and I just stroke it to the end of one strand, and then I do that again, and then I break some off like that, and then I just follow the ends, and for the fluff right here I just kind of go to the ends of the fluff, and then I start at the bottom and go up, and there's some more fluff here, so we just shade that fluff, floof, whatever you want to call it, fluffy floof. And that would be casting a shadow on the hair down here, so we just shade that. And I like using a really thick brush. You can use a thinner brush like a size 16, that makes it more hairy looking, but I don't really like using thin brushes. I like fat ones. So I'm just gonna go down here, and his butt is casting a shadow on his tail, so we're just gonna shade from the butt. And that is pretty much how I shade a tail. And the mane, his forelock is very big and fluffy, and this helmet is casting a little bit of a shadow, so we're gonna add some shadow from the helmet, and there's gonna be a shadow on the bottom. Break off, break off, some more shadow over here, and then there's some little fluffy crazy bits. And then there's the mohawk, and mohawks are kind of hard to shade. I don't really like shading them, but you just basically use flat strokes going up, because they are usually squarey and they don't have much fluffy hairiness to them. And the top needs some shading up here. The wings would be casting a shadow on these bits back here and on this bit, so we're just going to make those, and then continue with the hair. So anyways, on this part there would be a line here, and the fluff would be spreading outwards, so I usually just make a line and then spread the shading out from that line like this. And then this corner would have, and then this, whoop. It just takes a lot of practice. You'll get your own shading technique, and that'll be awesome. So your shading technique will be awesome. Okay, woo. That is the mane and tail shading, and then I'm go to 100% opacity again on both shading layers and combine them into one. And then for fun, I like to go to overlay and see what that looks like. Ooh, that looks actually really good. Overlay makes it more colory, and I actually kind of like that, so I'm going to leave it like that. So now I'm going to add some highlights. So I make a new layer and take white clipping group and just add some shiny to the mane and tail. Add some shiny stuff. Oh, and also what you can do on the shading is take the blur tool, and I just use like 75% density, and just kind of, whoops, blur where the round parts are, like where there would be muscle, and just kind of do that. It'll make it look softer and more realistic-ish, I guess. I guess that's not really a word, but on all the round areas, or the areas where there would be lots of muscle, like here or here. And I think that looks okay, so we're just going to leave that. So yeah, there we go. And next would be the armor. Now for armor, I make a new layer again, and take clipping group again. And I don't actually use black for my shading on the armor. I select the color, and I pick a color that's darker than that color, and I just kind of follow the shape. Because metal is obviously very shiny, so it has a lot more shinier type shading to it. Just gonna stop there. There would be... I love shading metal, it's so much fun. I'm just gonna do the helmet, and then I'm probably gonna stop this tutorial because it's been going on for a while. I don't want to bore you guys. And oops, kind of went overboard. That's okay. I can erase it. There would be shading here, and here, and down the nose, and here. Erase that, that's ugly. Yeah, okay. And then I just add kind of sometimes some random lines just to make it look not flat. And then I blur them like that. I'm so good at explaining things, not... Okay, so anyways, that's just how that goes. And then the lighting is easy. You just take a really bright color. I usually take white. And then I just go on the outsides. And I add little dots. I don't know why I add dots. It just makes it look like metal, I guess. On all the parts where you think it would be protruding. Like here and here. And there would be some here probably. Because the light is catching in this little bowl. And here. And there. And that is pretty much how I do my shading right there. Sorry if this was kind of boring, but it's kind of hard to explain your style of shading just because it kind of is. But anyways, I hope it helped a little bit for some people. If not, sorry, waste of your time. But anyways, I will be making a grass tutorial soon, which is going to be fun. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that and it helped, and bye.